Well, today we're taking a peek at another vehicle. This is the 2022 Toyota Corolla. I have it in the SE Nightshade edition, and not a whole lot of fancy features on this guy. So it kind of gets me back to the roots. It almost feels like my car I had in college, high school, college time frame. So yeah, let's get into it. Hey guys, welcome back to techgooch, and today I'm in the 2022 Toyota Corolla, the SE Nightshade, and this vehicle is very plain Jane, right? The Corolla starts in the, I think, the L series or level of trim, and then it kind of moves up into the SE, maybe LE and then SE, I think is what it is. This one right here that I'm actually sitting in is the SE Nightshade, which comes out equipped at about $24,500 after delivery and everything. So it's very, very affordable, and to be honest about it, it's a good, decent, small car. When I was asked if I would be willing, interested in doing this review, this is not going to be as technological forward as a lot of the vehicles I've been doing lately. Definitely the least expensive vehicle I've ever reviewed. So it's good to get put back into your roots maybe a little bit, or at least close to the least expensive. Maybe that's what I should say. It's for where it sits at $24,500. It's a very comfortable, and it seems like it's a very reliable vehicle. Now, of course, reliability you can't tell within the first year or so of ownership, so that's a hard one to say, but it has just run really well for me. Now, this has a 2.0 liter engine and a CVT transmission, so I'm not worried about, it's not finding gears. It's constantly varying the timing or the transmission itself. And it puts it in a nice category where it drives smooth, drives nice, does really well on in-town roads, even on the highway. I'm not going to say that it's the best in any of those situations, but that said, good fuel economy too. So we're going to get into it. I'm going to pull over here in a minute. I'm going to go through the car like I typically do to show you exactly what you're getting here. 8-inch touchscreen, nothing too crazy in the dash here. But it does have CarPlay and Android Auto, so that's definitely a bonus. Looks like my garage door opener is rattling. I apologize about that. But that said, let's get pulled over. Let's go through the interior. Let's show everything. We'll do our boot, our trunk sizing with how many suitcases does it handle, and we'll get going from there. So yeah, let me get over, and then we'll take it from there. Okay, so we're gonna actually work around the vehicle here, front all the way around like we typically do. Now, this one doesn't have any cameras on the outside or anything like that, but it does have the Nightshade edition, so we are getting the black wheels and all the black accents, and it just looks pretty awesome. I love the black door handles. It just looks good. Now, this is the standard silver color. So obviously you could get this in black too, so black on black, and it would just be awesome. But black emblems, just a good looking vehicle, to be honest about it, for what it is, for just a relatively inexpensive car. It's very attractive. That's what I'll say there. So let's go ahead and get in the vehicle first. First, this is all manual seats on this guy. Now they do have upper packages, obviously. But this one's just the standard SE, but with the Nightshade exterior. Now, all the features here, there's going to be actually some standard features that I love that they did include, but it's not going to be all overbearing with technology here. We do have our automatic high beams. Seems to be pretty much a staple in Toyotas anymore as well. If you want to see what the door controls look like, and the mirror controls all right there, at least everything's power there. Now, I'm not as big a fan, to be honest about it, as the digital display off to the side. I'd much rather have it in the center and have my dials, my tach and my speedometer over to the side. I'm not a big fan of the digital display over to the side. But it does have the standard, information for the most part, as you'll find in Toyotas. A little less, I guess not as crazy in terms of what it's going to give you. But you can see right now my overall 31.6 miles to the gallon, and that's a lot of testing out the engine and stuff as well. But you can see we're going to get a lot of the functions in here as well. Lane assists, all that stuff is actually on this model, which is pretty awesome for as low of a trim as it has. And I can change that radar sensing for the cruise control and everything right here on the steering wheel. So change our audio modes, track, volume. We can use our speech here to actually do the voice activation. And then of course this is what I was actually using to change around that up there. Standard for what we have for our blinker as well as headlights, but we do have auto headlights, so that's nice to have that. We do have our stick over here that has all of our windshield wiper controls and everything on it. And then we get to the 8-inch touch panel, which is kind of just a standard touch panel. Nothing fancy. This is kind of the same touch panel that you've found in a little bit older Toyotas. I'm looking forward to when this gets a little bit bigger. But of course we are at a lower trim level vehicle as well. So, however, we are getting climate control. So it is one of those nice things that we are actually getting temperature set climate control. Really nice to have. We're not getting dual climate, just single zone. But this is going to be your fan control. You're not going to get as many automatic features so much, but we do still have full auto, I guess, in that regard. No heated seats in this trim. Or cooled seats or anything, and you wouldn't really expect that anyway. We do have a mode down here where we can actually put it in sport mode and turn traction control off. Our standard big shifter here, which is standard. I do have my cord here for doing Apple CarPlay, and I'll show you that here shortly. Parking brake, which automatically sets itself pretty much when you actually put it in park. So it is electronic car brake. So I do like seeing the electronic parking brakes. Now here's one thing I don't like, and that is this USB port for the Apple CarPlay feature to plug into the multimedia into the radio. You just don't see it. You don't see it unless you're really down here looking for it. So I don't like where that's placed, and there's no additional ports up here for you to charge your gadgets with. You're going to have to bring your own. It's also in here. There's one USB-C port in here. Which is nice I will say this, it is nice to see USB-C, and then your standard 12 volt plugs in here. And so out here as well, you don't have the 12 volt. It's lacking in this regard for electronics for charging. Standard size, a decent size, I should say, glove box, and yeah, standard lights, door, turn the door and lights and stuff like that. So pretty basic in its regard, and that's kind of what it is, because it is basic. Maybe I can get it down there if you can see that. There we go. All right, let's get in the back seat. Let's show you the back seat. All right, getting in the back. Now I have the car seat, or the seat set for me. I'm 5'11", but it is back decently, and I still have quite a bit of room in front of my knees. So back seat wise, it's actually really well sized. For the small car that it is, and it actually is decently comfortable. Now it's cloth seats, but it actually is decently comfortable. I'll give it that. I even had some my kids' friends back here, and I was even asking them, hey, is it comfortable back there? Now for two people back here, it's comfortable. I can't see getting the third person back here at all. It's not going to be comfortable for three. And then you do have your standard cup holders here. However, you can kind of see that there's not a real good method of pulling this out. You kind of got to jam your fingers in to pull this out. So that's one thing I'm not as big a fan on, is that, but it does work. So no ports back here for charging. That's a sad item there in my opinion. They could have just put a couple USB ports. You're not talking a substantial amount of money to do that, and I think they could have easily done that. So, and then just a standard light with an actual physical switch. All right, let's open up the trunk. Now we are going to do our test back here shortly with the suitcases, but I think we're going to be able to at least get 4 in there. So that's actually a decent sized trunk for the size of vehicle that we have here. So that's pretty nice to see. Let's take a peek underneath here. Pretty much there's your spare, and there's all your tools. So not a whole lot more room down there for anything else. It's pretty much what's going to take up the room. Okay, there's our nice little engine. Battery is pretty much on top, fairly easy to access that. I always like seeing that, but at least I get to show you what it looks like. This is the 2-liter engine that comes in the Corolla. Okay, so I just plugged my phone in. We're going to do CarPlay. Now, when I plugged it in, it came up automatically, but if you actually, I can hit the home button, go back. You can see it's plugged in there, and if I actually click on it, I can then choose Apple CarPlay rather than just audio, and yeah, so that's Apple CarPlay is going to fill up the entire display, and it's going to operate like normal, so I'm not going to go into this too much. But because we have the physical button, it's pretty easy to get back to the main menu without actually hitting like the Toyota button, because we do have physical buttons here. So that is what Apple CarPlay looks like on this radio. And of course, I can't do Android Auto, but it's going to be similar, at least in how it's going to fill. All right. Let's see what we can get in this bad boy. I think we're gonna get a lot in here, actually. Oh, just barely can get that 4th one in there. But then I can get a 5th. And then I still have room for more bags around. This trunk, for as small of a car as this is, it's got a very decent sized trunk area. So that's pretty awesome. So that is the 2022 Toyota Corolla. Like I said, this is the SE Nightshade Edition trim. For the price it sits at, how comfortable it is to drive, it is just kind of that go-getter, simple vehicle. I mean, there's nothing too crazy or fancy about it. It's pretty basic in terms of the package capability that it has, but it does have some of the safety features that make it nice. So, you know, it lets you know, hey, there's a vehicle, you got to slam on the brakes or whatever. It has all those easy to use, almost fully automatic systems that make things a little more comfortable, but also a little bit safer to drive, specifically in town and around a lot of traffic. So, all in all, I'm actually quite pleased. Like I said, it reminds me, it's a very stripped down, basic vehicle. A good commuter car, to be honest. Specifically if you don't have a whole lot of people that you're carrying with you, but if, you know, 1, maybe 2, maybe 3, you know, up to 4 people in the vehicle. But it's just that standard car. I had no problem with it, to be honest. It made a good vehicle to use for the last week that I've been driving it, and I didn't hear any complaints from any of my passengers. I have had complaints in the past from some other vehicles for certain things, namely my truck more than anything else, just because of how little space there was in the back seat. But in this, it's good whether you're a kid or an adult. So thanks for watching. Thanks for sticking by to the end here. If you have any questions or comments, please post those below, or head over to techgooch.com. You can get a hold of me directly there. Like, comment, share, subscribe. Do what you can for me. I'd appreciate it. And this is my last vehicle for a little bit, and then I'm sure I'll pick up again this summer. So, Toyota, thank you for allowing me to take a peek at this vehicle, because every time I try these different vehicles that I've been doing lately, specifically the ones that I'm not, going after to showcase myself, I'm always surprised, at least in some regards. And this one kind of brought me back to my roots into, I had a Saturn vehicle. This was years ago, obviously. They don't exist anymore. But that sedan was just a basic sedan that just kind of went everywhere. I took it all over the country, and it was a good car. This, I can argue that drives better than that Saturn ever did, But of course, I'm also, 20 years newer. So it is what it is. Thank you for watching. Thanks for sticking by. And we'll catch you back here on another video review right here on Tech Gooch. We'll see you soon.